Caitlin Clark does not have any advantages physically. She's not going to be quicker than the people she's playing against. She's not longer. She's not stronger. So the adjustment period for her is going to take even longer in terms of having that consistent night-to-night impact. So just give her time.
Give her time. I like Tim Legler. I think he's one of the best NBA analysts at ESPN. Now, I have no idea what ESPN is doing, wasting the talents and analytical skills of Tim Legler by having him watch The Dump. But I do appreciate the positivity. Tim Legler, he's absolutely right about Caitlin Clark. Basketball's not like football. In the NFL, a dynamic rookie like CJ Stroud, he can come into the league and completely transform a franchise in year one. Running back like Alvin Kamara, he can enter the NFL as a third-round draft pick and he can be unstoppable. Doesn't work that way in basketball. You don't just walk into the NBA and automatically know how to win. Even iconic players like Michael Jordan and LeBron James, they struggled throughout the early years of their NBA careers. It's no different with Caitlin Clark, who is being crucified right now for struggling in her first 2 games in the WNBA. Poor Katie Rue. She's got to bulk up a little bit, needs to hit the weights. Those garbage bags, they are a lot heavier in the WNBA than they are at the collegiate level. Those bags are no longer filled with empty beer cans from doofus frat parties. We're talking about heavy-duty neighborhood trash here. I understand and I can appreciate Tim Legler defending Caitlin Clark. I can appreciate Timmy asking people to give Caitlin Clark more time. Just one problem though, one tiny problem. Time is quickly running out. If you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Thursday night, Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Felines, they had their home debut against the New York Liberals. The good news is, with a lot of tickets going for pennies on the dollar, the game was sold out. Over 17,000 people sat in silence as they witnessed something that almost resembled basketball. The excitement, the anticipation, it was at record high levels for a meaningless game in the WNBA. The bad news is the game actually started. Just like Tuesday night, once the game tipped off, the magic, the mystique of Caitlin Clark, it rapidly disappeared. Once again, Katie Rue looked completely overmatched. Things have gotten so bad. The mental toughness of Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Felines, it's being called into question by their own head coach. Hell, it's not being questioned, it's being called out directly. After the game Thursday night, Felines coach Christy Sides, or Chrissy Shields, who cares? It doesn't matter what her name is. If Caitlin Clark is anything like LeBron James, this poor coach, she's going to be blamed for the team's huge embarrassing failure, and she'll be working the bar at Club Shay Shay by this time next year. After the game, Chrissy Shields, she basically said that her team is mentally weak. Now, make no mistake about it. The embarrassing failure of Caitlin Clark, this is a major problem for the WNBA, both in the short term and the long term. The diva of Dump Divas, Kat Engelbert, she put this shitty team on national television for 36 out of their 40 games, which, don't get me wrong, that was the right decision. When you're in charge of a league that's only had one star in its 30 years of existence, you do everything you can to feature that star player on national TV. I mean, what other options did Kat Engelbert have? Was she going to heavily feature the Phoenix Masculines, the anonymous faces in Las Vegas, the Tulsa Shockers? Well, KC, the Tulsa Shockers no longer exist. Yeah, we'll be saying the same thing about the WNBA in 10 years if Caitlin Clark can't get her shit together fast. Short term, this is a problem for the WNBA because they possibly have the worst team in the league consuming most of their valuable time slots on national television. Long term, the situation is even worse. Like I have said countless times, if Caitlin Clark can't elevate the WNBA, No one will. You've got a better chance of lightning striking you directly in the ass than you do of seeing another cultural phenomenon in women's basketball in the next 20 or 30 years. The WNBA is relying on Caitlin Clark to double their broadcast earnings. Instead of networks like ESPN paying top-level NBA salaries for the rights to broadcast the WNBA, Kat Engelbert, she was hoping to secure the same amount as 2 top-level NBA salaries. It's going to be kind of hard to make those demands if Caitlin Clark continues to struggle. She does not have the same luxury that Michael Jordan and LeBron James had. When Michael Jordan entered the NBA, he was given plenty of time to develop while Magic Johnson and Larry Bird carried the league. By the time LeBron got to the NBA in 2003, the foundation was already established. Whether it's fair or not, Caitlin Clark is expected to elevate the WNBA now. And it's incredibly hard to do that when you're losing by 30 points every night. Wednesday afternoon, the mainstream media, they were grilling the woke wiener celebrating the short-term success of the WNBA. Caitlin Clark debuted to huge ratings. Over 2 million people tuned in to watch basketball at the lowest level. Now, on the surface, 2.1 million viewers, that seems like a great number. And to be fair, 2.1 million, that is a great number for the dump. But since I've had a couple of more days to think about it, I'm starting to think that 2.1 million, I'm starting to think that was a disappointment. When leagues like the XFL or the USFL debut, they usually come out with strong ratings. When the XFL debuted in 2020, they drew over 3 million viewers for their first game, which was the most watched game of the season. Once the curiosity factor wears off, 50, 60, 75% of the audience disappears. I think the same thing is going to happen to Caitlin Clark. The 2.1 million she drew for her debut Tuesday night, that number, it doesn't rank in the top 10 in the WNBA. The debut of Caitlin Clark, it wasn't one of the most watched games in a league that no one is watching. Well, Casey, that's not fair. She was competing with the NBA playoffs. So? There's always going to be competition. Next month, they'll be competing with the NBA Finals. In July, they'll be competing with the wiener consumption competition on ESPN. August, the WNBA, they'll be fighting for time slots on ESPN with the Little League World Series. Meaning for weeks at a time, the WNBA, they will be relegated to ESPN Plus or WNBA League Pass, which used to be known as pay-per-view. They'll be moved off television so ESPN can broadcast prepubescent boys playing stickball. Seriously, if you're running ESPN, are you going to show the Little League World Series, which is pretty much guaranteed to draw millions of viewers? Or are you going to show the Indiana Felines once again getting their ass kicked? This afternoon, the Felines, they are playing in a rematch against the New York Liberals. It is not going to surprise me if this game fails to draw 1 million viewers on ABC. The interest is rapidly dwindling. Is it fair to Caitlin Clark? Is it fair to the WNBA? No, obviously not. But reality doesn't give a shit about fairness. There's an old saying, and I can't remember it verbatim. It's something like, it's harder to maintain success than it is to achieve success in the first place. Over the past 2 decades, we've seen a lot of players come into the NBA who rapidly became superstars and were expected to carry the league. Vince Carter, Allen Iverson, Dwight Howard. People don't understand how big of a star Dwight Howard was for about 2 years in Orlando. At one point in 2008, or maybe it was 2009, there was a poll with all general managers in the NBA. They asked who they would want to build their teams around, LeBron James or Dwight Howard. The overwhelming majority of general managers, they chose Dwight Howard. All three players had a rapid ascension and an equally rapid decline. That doesn't mean they became bad players, but their star power, their drawing power diminished. It can almost happen instantly. You can be this megastar one day and forgotten about the next. Now, is that happening to Caitlin Clark? It's too early to tell right now, but the signs are definitely there. Ticket prices are falling. As of the recording of this video, I'm recording this video on Friday afternoon, but as of the recording of this video, the game in New York against the Liberals, it is not anywhere close to being sold out. Overall interest in Caitlin Clark seems to be declining. It would be one thing if these games were competitive, but these games aren't even close. And look. No one is saying that Caitlin Clark won't develop into a good player. There's not a doubt in my mind that Caitlin Clark will be an elite player in the WNBA. Hell, it doesn't take much to be elite in the dump. After watching that game Tuesday night, all you have to do to be considered elite in the WNBA is make a layup. And speaking of layups, the other day, a Twitter account named, I think it was named NBA Central, they uploaded a video of Angel Reese. The caption of the video read, "Angel Reese makes her first dunk in the WNBA." Obviously, this immediately piqued my interest. As you guys know, dunks are extinct in the WNBA unless players are allowed to use a ladder. So out of curiosity, I watched this video of Angel Reese supposedly dunking. She made a layup. And I'm not making that up. You can check my Twitter feed yourself. The video's on my timeline. But anyway, I'm not saying Caitlin Clark won't develop into an elite dump diver. She's going to be a good player, perhaps one of the best in the league. Question is, will anyone be around to see it? Will anyone notice? It could take years for Caitlin Clark to develop. Problem is, once she reaches that point, time will have already run out. But give me your thoughts on this. Tim Legler says that we need to give Caitlin Clark time to develop. Will she be given the luxury of time? Do you think people will stick around waiting for her to develop, or will the WNBA rapidly descend to irrelevance again? Katie Rue and the Felines, they play on ABC later today. Will they eclipse 1 million viewers? Let me know. Sound off in the comments below. Like, subscribe, share the video. Appreciate your support. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.